In a YouTube channel dominated by stabbers, one thorax reaches out in an attempt to reclaim glory. His success is undetermined as his journey has just begun. In this universe, everyone hears you cry. This January, join friendly targets in an attempt to make the thorax great. This film is not yet rated. Alright, so I know in the Christmas video I promised you guys more than just more stabber content, so here you go. Here's a Nano Tempest. Enjoy. Now, let me get this out of the way real quick. In order for me to constantly pump out videos, I need to get constant content. And the stabber is simply a really good ship for doing that. So, that's why. Anyways, in this fight, I'm not on comms because I don't have audio. It's not an option for me. I know a lot of people don't like that, but hey, you just got to deal with it during my time zone. I made it my point in this fight to be a big juicy target in the Nano Tempest and distract the enemy and shoot what I can while the FC made his calls. I guess it worked because we went really green on the kill board. This got kicked off because I killed a war target Hurricane in the Nano Tempest, and so some other war targets came in. With the help of Mio, we killed them too. They formed up a fleet, our boys formed up a fleet, and we didn't hold the field, but we went kill board green. Enjoy. They're gonna clean off your rust with their religion and lust to make a pretty slave out of you. So break the chains off your head and take their women to bed so they can watch all the things we do. Because our drugs always work when all the modules are burnt. This is our method for keeping you free. They're gonna drop all their loot as they're reshipping into the biggest griffins you've ever seen. They say that Minotaurs scare the nanite paste out of me. They always grab point just as I'm trying to flee. So tuck in and run, they've got those really big guns. Maybe they'll pod you home, but not me. When the FC says undock and you get auto-locked by a fleet of 1v10. If you belong to a mark, you'll think that solo is hard and start to question your life's choices. They say that Minotaurs scare the nanite paste out of me. They always grab point just as I'm trying to flee. So tuck in and run, they've got these really big guns. Maybe they'll pod you home, but not me. I hope you guys can appreciate the amount of alcohol it took to do that. I'm gonna need another drink. I'm gonna get so much hate for this. Welcome back, friendly targets. Please forgive the voice if it sounds weird. I've been sick over the past week and it sucks. Anyways, combat log time. We're going to start out with a Heist at Griefer in Yo Pilot with Ononeros as a multi-boxer. We're going to poke him on station, act scared, shoot him with one gun, wait for him to come and get his point and scram, de-aggress, dock, and then wait for our aggression timer to end. We're going to warp to the rogue drone site, where I know he'll probably follow, and then we're going to poke around with him for a little bit. Now, he's going to try to get me to shoot him. Now, I'm faster at taking my loot than he is, and I have my safety set to green so that I don't accidentally take the loot from him, because see, I want the fight under my circumstances because I'm solo, he's not. What I'm going to do here is after he attempts to give me a duel, I'm going to cancel. He's going to call me a pussy, and then I'm going to tell him to dock the Oneros. He docks the Oneros, I invite him to a duel, and as soon as he accepts, I overheat everything in hopes to kill him before the Oneros arrives. And I did. So, there's that. Oh look, an Oneros. What a surprise. There was an absolutely comical moment when he told me to leave the loot, as if he would have done that for somebody else. The ECM burst Thrasher is oddly satisfying when going up against other destroyers. It's not guaranteed every time. Make sure you overheat the module, but if it hits, it'll give you a few moments that you need to apply the damage to take on your targets. This is, well, really good against the Algos, because in my opinion, it's the strongest brawling destroyer in the game. So I have to kind of summarize this entire situation because it actually ended up being over the span of an hour. Here's the short version. I found a new player in a Hurricane Fleet issue running an anomaly. After not being able to warp to his anomaly, I decided to invite him to a fleet to see what would happen. New players do not often differentiate a fleet invite from a conversation, so he immediately accepted. And I immediately hit warp to 0. At this point, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to attempt to kill him, or if maybe I'll help him with the site. And here's why this is an option for me where it normally would not be at all. First off, I like helping new players, especially new players who've just like grinded away at something for a long time. It doesn't give me any thrills to go in and demoralize them. Second, I'm in a passive shield tank Cyclone with a massive brick tank and an extra large ancillary shield booster to boot. So if something breaks through that magical 33% of your shield, you boost one cycle, and then they gotta shoot at you for another 5 minutes. It's glorious. It's not really for serious PvP, as it's slow as balls, does not apply well, and has no damage. It's like 300 damage tops. After talking to the guy for a little bit and seeing how much work he did to get as far as he had, I decided, you know what? I'm going to help him. I'm going to help him finish this site. I might not be able to do very much damage, but I'm in one of the only fits I would have ever brought to low sec that can tank an anomaly. Turns out, we eventually killed the anomaly, got the loot. I told him to scoop it. He scoops it, takes off. And once he starts linking in the fleet chat what he got in the drop, I was just like ecstatic. It was a Vigilant blueprint copy and a handful of the expensive armor faction modules. Told him to keep it, then I left fleet and went on about my way. I know I made his night, and that makes me feel better than killing him. Though at the end of the conversation, I assured him that he took a really, really big chance inviting me to fleet, and he shouldn't do that ever again. Anyways, that fit was really stupid, so I ended up turning it into a festival launcher with just 100% passive tank, and eventually died on this gate to this little gate camp, but after like tanking close to 200,000 damage, something like that. Fireworks, pretty. Once you've reached the point in the game where overconfidence grows wild and you literally give a new player every attempt to not die to you, there's just something funny about that. I don't know. I love it. Like this little Dramio comes in and starts shooting me. I'm in a Cyclone and I tell him he's not going to like how it ends. Maybe he spoke Russian and he didn't understand. But after giving him a countdown in local and he was still there, I just figured, all right, well, free Dramio kill. So there's that. Alright, now this was a really good fight. This fight was closer than it needed to be because I made a mistake and chose fusion instead of hail. Gotta remember, at these brawling ranges, when you guys are traveling in straight lines pretty much, hail is a much better option against armor brawling ships. The Stabber's projection bonus is still going to allow it to do most of its damage at this range, and it would trump fusion. Anyways, his mistake, in my opinion, was having 3 damage mods and no damage control. The stacking penalty of 3 damage mods on a cruiser hull is not worth it, in my opinion. You should have had a damage control. But what do I know? I'm not an EFT warrior. I'm going to leave this fight up to chance, because a critical hit at the wrong timing or a bad boost cycle timing on my part would have probably given him the fight. So, I want to tell you guys a story about a terrible ship. It's called the Cyclone. No, I'm not being sarcastic. There is a fine difference between being underrated and being legitimately terrible. See, the Stabber was underrated, even before it got buffed. The Cyclone is legitimately terrible. Before we go into details and explain why this ship is so bad, I want to give you a fun fact. Did you know that a polarized Cyclone with Rage missiles, a full rack of ballistic control units, and Tech 2 hammerheads does 850 DPS? Okay. Did you know that a polarized Stabber does 800 DPS? Is faster? Applies better? Okay, see, here's the thing. If the Cyclone still had projectile weapon systems as its bonus, like it used to way back. Now don't get me wrong, way back when it did, it was bad because of other reasons. It was slow, it didn't have as much fitting, it didn't have the same slot layout. It was terrible then. But see, if it had projectiles now, we wouldn't be having this conversation, because it would actually be a really good ship, and probably, in my opinion, the Stabber of battle cruisers. Here's the problem. It's got 5 mid slots and a shield tank bonus. This means you can actually put a pretty good shield tank on it with crystals and a blue pill and, be real tanky. But only 5 mid slots with missiles and a shield bonus is a terrible idea. Here's why. You need a web to apply to anything smaller than a battle cruiser. Otherwise, you're not doing your full damage. That means you've really got 4 mid slots. Then you got a prop mod and a point, so you've got 2 mid slots left for your shield tank bonus ship. An invul and an ancillary, or 2 ancillaries. Okay. Big tank, very little damage, means you die slowly. It's not good for solo PvP. But it's not good for a fleet either, because an active shield tank ship in a fleet generally gets alpha'd through its tank before it can really do anything. Now, let's move on. Fitting. It has terrible fitting. Its CPU requirements are so demanding because you're using missiles, a weapon system which uses a lot of CPU, and then you have a shield bonus, a tanking system which requires a lot more CPU. Which means your low slots and rig slots are always going to have fitting modules. It's so demanding that you'll never see new pilots flying a Cyclone in PvP, and if you do, you know they're going to be an easy target. If you don't believe me, go try it. Okay, this doesn't mean you can't do some outside-the-box fits, which is what I'm going to show you in a little bit, but still, the big problem. Damage. Not only do the missiles not apply well to small targets, even with the web and the newts, they also, it only has 5 launchers. And with the 5 launchers, it gets a 5% bonus per level to damage. Its damage is pathetic. An average Cyclone with a well-balanced tank and DPS fitting will do about 450 DPS and 500 heated. That's pathetic. My Rupture does that. My Stabber does that. The Hurricane does a lot more than that. Alright. So the only reason I was able to get those frigate kills that you saw was, well, system manipulation. I pretended to be AFK. First off, that's how I got the fight, because, see, they wouldn't come fight me, they kept running, which didn't make sense, because they really didn't need to. But the newts, the web, and the drones were doing all the work in that fight. Nice thing about the Cyclone is it's got that drone bay, that big drone bay. Okay, but usually those die really quick. See, if these guys knew what they were doing, they just killed my drones, and then I wouldn't have been able to do anything about them. When I start nuding and shooting at them with the missiles, it takes so long to kill them that they could just slowly creep out of my range and run away. See, the Cyclone is the fastest battlecruiser, but that's kind of like saying the short bus is faster than the big bus. It's not fast. It's faster, but it's not fast. In a solo fight, a 1v1, up against another battlecruiser, it's still the weakest ship. Now, there are situations when you go up against capacitor-demanding ships where you can win. Things like if you go up against a Harbinger, 2 medium newts, the afterburner setup, can do wonders. Going up against a Brutix, same thing. Myrmidon, no. No, the Myrmidon is the beast of 1v1 battlecruisers. Alright, let's go on. This is already depressing me enough. Alright, so here I'm in a dual tank Cyclone. It's still pretty bad on DPS, and it can't apply to small ships because it doesn't have a web, but up against another battlecruiser, I'm actually confident that this can win. As a matter of fact, this specific setup in a brawling 1v1, I believe can even kill the mighty Myrmidon. Unfortunately, those fights are hard to get, because another disadvantage about the battlecruiser is the fact that it's a battlecruiser. The Cyclone is a battlecruiser, which means people have this misconception that it's not very engageable. So they're going to bring other battlecruisers, and they're usually going to bring the better battlecruiser, like the Myrmidon. The Myrmidon is just going to tank forever. So you kill their drones, and then you whittle away at them until they run out of boosters in their bay. Now, here's the advantage. See, with the dual rep setup, once I run out of ancillary, my reactive armor hardener is going to adapt to their damage, and in a lot of situations they're going to try and shoot your hull. So they're going to try and shoot you with like EM, which means that your EM resistance on the armor is going to go through the roof, and you should get a reload off by the time you get low armor. We'll find out, because this is something I'm going to play with a bit more. Anyways, what's happening here is I'm fighting this Myrmidon. A friendly Hurricane asked if I want help, and so I told him no, I'm trying to solo this guy, but then a tornado comes in, which kind of just completely demoralizes my thoughts of getting a solo 1v1. So I tell the Hurricane to come help me out. He comes help me out, and we kill this Myrmidon, and then we get away. Tried to jump on top of the tornado with a mobile jump drive. Didn't work. Got within 20 AUs, but like I said, the Cyclone is not fast, even though it's the fastest battlecruiser. Doesn't make much of a difference when you're using an afterburner. So this is a fight of bad judgment that could have gone much better had I chose the right target to start with. I capped the Plex, and I could have left, but I stuck around because I wanted the fight. I like taking on these frigate gangs and the Stabber, especially it's a perfect number of like 1v6, so even though you know you're going to die, it's still worth it because just the kill board. Anyways, I know one of them's going to die either way, and they're going to be worth almost as much as me, so I'm cool with that. However, I should have shot the stupid Crucifier Navy issue first, because he is a lot less tanked than a Comet. He's right on top of me, right where I want him to be, so he's not going to get away in time. And the fact that he's tracking disrupted me means that when he dies, other things have a better chance of dying. So it takes me forever to kill this stupid Comet because of the tracking disruptor, and the fact that the Comet's probably the most tanked out of all of them. Yeah, I just thought you guys would enjoy to see this little derpy mess. So there have been a lot of small, really fast ships around my area lately, and I decided it was time to change things up and go with the Speed Stabber because Stabber's so fast. And did you know, fun fact, that you can use the agency overclocking boosters with a Quake booster, making the micro warp drive Stabber go about 5,000 meters a second? And did you know that that sudden burst of speed is enough to catch almost all Garmers? Yeah, I didn't know that until I did it. So here's me killing a Garmer with the Stabber so fast, eliminating cancer from the game. We also killed a Daredevil, but that's a given because if a Daredevil shoots a Stabber, Daredevil's going to die. Simple as that. This setup is basically a micro warp drive with an extra large ancillary shield booster, 2 overdrive injectors, 180s, 2 small newts, and I'm using a small capacitor injector. Reason why? Stabber sucks when it comes to micro warp drive power capacitor. Basically, you can only run that micro warp drive for about a minute with everything else running. When I get on top of a Garmer, I don't want it to get away. So I use the small booster to make sure I have enough cap just to keep everything running. Okay, so lately I've been having this daunting realization. It's that feeling you get when you start to realize that your favorite ship in the game, your baby, might be overpowered. And you know what happens to overpowered ships. Well, unless you're a Garmer or a Blackbird. That's different. But if you're an overpowered combat ship with balls, you get neutered eventually. And it's to balance the game out. I have no problem with that. It's just scary when it happens to your favorite ship. See, who would ever thought? Anyone would ever say, legitimately, without any sarcasm whatsoever, that the Stabber, in my opinion, is the best Tech 1 cruiser in the game. Not at everything, but at what I need to do, solo PvP, I believe it's the best. So I started thinking about fits that could kill my Stabber. How come it's so hard to kill my Stabber? And when somebody inevitably does, I've still gone like 50-1, at least. I had a video, the Stabber with 23 kill marks on it. It made it up to 24, sacrificed itself to kill a Loki. So here I'm thinking, okay, well, what can kill that fit, that Stabber? And I immediately start thinking of ships that can do it. And they're not even like out of the box. They're just cookie cutter ships. Like a brawling thorax with an afterburner, a scram, a web, and a cap injector. Well, that would kill it. With the web and the afterburner, it's fast enough to keep up. Once it gets those blasters on top of it, it's going to out DPS me. And with a cookie cutter tank, it'll be able to handle my damage. It's going to have as much tank, but more damage. A better ship, the Rupture. The Rupture with an afterburner, a scram, and a web, and a cap booster could kill my Stabber. See, as long as they have a web and an afterburner, and some way to keep their capacitor running, well, they can win. And then there's the Vexor, the mighty Vexor, like a cookie cutter afterburning Vexor. Probably have no problem killing my Stabber. So, well, why is this not happening? I started to realize it's the meta. See, there are very, very few cruiser pilots out there running afterburner scram web combos. The reason why is, that might specifically be fit to kill my Stabber and do good brawling against other cruisers. They're going to get caught out by gate camps, fast kiting ships, and they just don't fit that because that's common. Kiting is one of the most common forms of PvP. So they're slow. They just sit there and slowly die. But the Stabber is unique. It's really well-rounded. It has good damage, has a beastly tank with the XL fit, and the big thing, it's fast. You see, as long as you don't get caught by a Garmer or some kind of interceptor, you can almost always get away from a kiting ship. The heat on a Stabber with good skills, you're pushing over 1,300 meters a second with an afterburner. And you can keep that running as long as you want. So eventually you can, slingshot out of most situations. Combine that with your projection bonus, the fall-off bonus. So even when you have a hard time slingshotting something, you're still going to do some damage to it. And in a lot of situations, good damage. See, like the Thorax with blasters, you ain't touching anything at 20 kilometers. The Rupture can, just barely, but not as well. And the Vexor, well, it has drones, and drones usually aren't all that fast against kiting ships, and they'll slowly kill your drones. So I just started to realize this, and it kind of gave me a relief, because the Stabber is filling a niche, can quite easily be countered, but nobody's doing it because everybody's too slow. And if they do, it means they really got to watch out around other ships. Maybe I've just been lucky, because really, I haven't been running into any ships fit with an afterburner scram web and a cap injector. And the few that I have been buffer fits. That's the thing. Buffer fit ships are not good for solo PvP. In most situations, a buffer fit cruiser will lose to any active fit cruiser. Alright. Hope you guys enjoyed that realization, because it's been scaring the crap out of me. So here's a fight that helps compound what I was just talking about. This fight's up against a Hakata. This is an afterburning Hakata, and I have a micro warp drive. But here's the thing. with 2 overdrive injectors on a stabber, you're still as fast as most cruisers with an afterburner. So it means I'm still almost as fast as him unless he enters speed mode. So I'm going to have no problem keeping transversal down. And you combine that with the 2 small neutralizers, and the fact that he needs to run guns, tank, and an afterburner is going to put him under severe pressure. So the stabber's speed is the big deal here. Okay, so when am I going to shut up about the stabber? Well, maybe never. I don't know. I'm sorry, but I got to show you this. It's compounding this even further. Meta, a word I throw around a lot, is more of what I would say the explanation of people expecting you to be fit a certain way. Well, that might be exactly what it is, but see, that's the thing. Is everybody around here is used to me flying my afterburning stabber because it's what I've been flying a lot of. Well, when I show up with a 5,000 meter per second stabber, people aren't expecting that. And see, this is going to be another one of my main fits. And this is really good because now people are going to be really worried about what I am. So they could be in some super kitey nano ship, and I might just surprise them with 5,000 meters a second. They could be in a brawling ship, and I might just surprise them with super massive tank with good damage and speed. I look for the worm that's furthest away in the fight. He's out orbiting somebody at like 20 kilometers. The reason why I go straight for him and not the one that everybody else is shooting, well, 2 reasons. Secure as many kills as possible, but the person who is furthest away from the majority of the fight is going to be the one that's affected most by tunnel vision. When a ship 20 kilometers away is on top of you in 2 seconds, you can't predict that. Especially when it's just somebody who's been flying something you expect it to be completely different. And just for giggles, jump back into a medium shield extender. This is a new fit. 1 small, 1 medium newt with 2 20s. More damage, more projection. Anyways, remember when Speeples would be what all you would see and it was just Speeples everywhere? And then, started killing a lot of Speeples, and I started asking, when are Speeples going to learn not to shoot stabbers? Well, now it's Hekates. I've killed so many Hekates and stabbers, I don't understand. Is nobody else killing Hekates with stabbers? Why do they keep engaging me? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I'm happy about it, and I love it. It's just free kills. It's free kill. I've never been soloed in a Tech 3 destroyer and a stabber. Not that I can think, anyways. I'm serious. As far back as I can think, even before the stabber had a buff, I've never been soloed in a Tech 3 destroyer. Whatever. So, I mean, here's an example of a fight that could have gone extremely different if he had an afterburner instead of a micro warp drive. This is up against Rocco. Rocco was streaming, but I was watching Judge's stream, so I didn't see. When he jumped into system, though, I told him that I was in a medium plex and a brawl fit stabber, and if he wanted to fight, he could come fight me. Rocco never hesitated. He came straight in and fought me. Well, the problem is, with my afterburner and his web, I'm still faster than he is. Plus, he's armor fit, so he's probably going to have armor rigs, which means he's going to be even slower. Couple that with the fact that micro warp drive gimps his capacitor bay. And when you have less capacitor in your capacitor bay, you have less capacitor regen. Not much, but enough to make a difference. He's just not going to win this fight. But if he had an afterburner, and he came and orbited me at 500 or 1,000, he would have done much better. See, the Thorax has a tracking bonus, so even though he's orbiting me, he would do more damage to me than I would do to him. And my newts wouldn't be as bad against an afterburner setup because of the capacitor bay I was just talking about. Combine that with the fact that blasters do a heck of a lot more damage than I do. All he needed to do was get on top of me to win that fight. Anyways, there's that, and just a good example. Still waiting for that afterburner setup to come and fight me. Viewer warning, the next clip includes a little bit of foul language. Viewer discretion is advised.
And I like hot women. I don't like ugly women. I like hot women. If you weigh 400 pounds and ride around at Walmart on an electric scooter, I'm probably not going to be asking you out on a fucking date, if you know what I mean. Just saying. I'm just saying.
These words of wisdom have been brought to you by Judge Sarn. Judge, I love you. Anyways, I guess the 2 medium shield extender fit is still completely viable. As with the medium nuke combined with the small nuke and the 220s, you're well-rounded as far as tank, DPS, and energy neutralizing pressure. Essentially, after I nude out this Omen, who has no ability to regen his capacitor, I kill his drones and he's no longer a threat to me. It's at this point where I consider typing good fight in local, but decided not to be a dick. Also, I'd look really stupid if something happened and he got away, or I died, which has happened before. And of course, Galente pilot comes in, and I begged this guy not to shoot him so I could have a solo kill, but, well, what are you going to do? Judge Sarn was having a giveaway for Christmas. Blaze skins, super awesome. I wanted that Hurricane Blaze skin so bad that I was going to be first. And according to my Twitch, I was. But according to lag in the internet, I wasn't. So this was like Twitch trolling the hell out of me. Oh well, here's for my records. I was first. I wanted that skin. I'm angry. Let's go blow up more stuff. Okay, so here's a quick one with the Lucky Ruppy versus another Ruppy. This is a veteran solo PvPer, so I knew this guy was going to have some trick up his sleeve. Well, it turns out he's just a full tank cruiser. You guys already know how I feel about full tank cruisers. Essentially, as long as you're paying attention, they're not going to win a fight. Worst case scenario, if you don't win, you just warp off. And that's what's going to happen here. See, I see he has no web. So I know that at any time in the fight I can get away. So I just go ahead and try and kill him and just see what's going to happen. I don't think I'm going to be able to because I know he's got like just super brick tank. And as I was fighting him, the fight took so long, I actually looked him up on Z-Kill, and yeah, it turns out he's just nothing but a low tank. This is why you don't do full tank, guys. Things just get away from you. I just pull out and warp off. Alright, so I'm waiting for Chocolate Rain here in Amamaki. She was having a Christmas giveaway. I won one of the skins, but I asked her instead of a skin if I could have a 1v1. But she was going to fight my Stabber in a Vector Navy issue. Not an ideal fight, but hey, Stabber's so fast, I was going to go for it. Well, she got too caught up, so I never got to fight her, but that's okay. I wasn't upset about that. I was happy because while waiting for her, I got some other kills, starting with this Cerberus. It was an overdrive afterburning Cerberus, but the thing is, Stabber's so fast, didn't really matter. I still killed him. Probably the most expensive 100% solo kill I've ever had in a Stabber. See, I killed a Vagabond on the gate, but I had gate guns on my side. This was awesome. Smack Talk is a legitimate, well, option in the game, of course. Most of it's just used for nonsense, but if you ever see me smacking in local, it's just to try to get a fight. Amamaki's probably one of the few places that it actually works. I'm sitting here waiting for rain after killing that Cerberus, talking smack in local, saying these guys had no solo balls, and well, one of them came in and tried. He chose a really bad ship to do it in. The Wolf is just, the Wolf is one of the worst ships you can fight a Stabber in, and even if it's somebody who really doesn't know how to fly a Stabber, let's say you got newts, you're screwed. Anyways, he dies in a ball of fire. Lessons have been learned, boys and girls. Oh look, it's a confessor. Well, that's nice. Okay, moving on. So, at this point in the commentary, if I'm starting to sound a little arrogant, I apologize. But in my defense, I put up, or I shut up. So, this is Christmas, and I was given a Christmas present. A Caracal Navy issue comes to fight my Stabber. I will take that fight every day. The Caracal Navy issue is a terrible ship. CCP, please fix. There's nothing it does better than the Osprey Navy issue. Anyways, he burns out his launchers. And because I'm in the Christmas spirit, I told him that if he paid me 40 mil, I would let him go. Merry Christmas. So, a little bit after letting that Navy Caracal go, a Rupture comes in to fight me. Well, I checked his killboard out, and he's pretty new bro-ish, so I wasn't expecting much of a fight. Now, his fit wasn't terrible, but it was a buffer fit. That's the problem. See, if you're in a buffer fit Rupture, or pretty much any buffer fit cruiser that I can think of, you're going to die to this Stabber, or at the very least, the Stabber is going to get away from you. Now, maybe if you have slaves, and then you might be able to outlast it, but that's not the case here. Active tanks on cruisers is much better for 1v1s. I know I said this earlier, I just wanted to repeat it to let you guys know that if you want to go for 1v1 cruiser fights, You want to be in an active fit, because the buffer just doesn't work. See, especially against the extra large ancillary shield booster, which puts out significantly more EHP over the course of a fight than a buffer fit. Now, I'm not saying buffer fits are bad. For small gangs, buffer fits are probably just fine, because you're going to be getting hit by a lot more damage all at once, and your active tank is probably not going to help you out there, whereas a buffer tank would. But I feel that if you're going to be in a buffer tank, you really need slaves. So a ship I generally try to avoid when I'm in the Brawling Stabber is a succubus, let alone 2 of them. But I figure I can kill the comet and then I'll be happy. The problem with the succubus is that afterburner bonus, it's always going to be faster than you, it's going to have a really small signature radius, and there's not much you can do about it, especially if they have a cap booster. See, this Brawling succubus had a cap booster, and I wasn't able to newt him out. I actually ended up newting myself out in an attempt to get his cap empty. So, if you're on the Brawling Stabber, try to avoid succubus. If you're rocking 2 medium neutralizers, you might have a chance of shooing them off, but you're probably not going to kill them. You have to catch them right on the beacon, overheat your afterburner, overheat your newts, approach them, and try and get as many newt cycles on them as possible. If they pull out of your range and they start orbiting you, you're going to die.
take none of your